Alright, what's going on everyone? Today we're going to be upgrading the Morbid Machinations Foundation Starter Deck. I don't know what to call it. So, with Foundations, we got new starter decks that you get with the new player experience. They might be located under the starter decks. They might be under your decks. I don't know, because these are new and I don't know how Wizards of the Coast is going to be unlocking these. So, check here. Or, I guess if you're watching this video, you already have it. And you know what deck I'm talking about. We're talking about this one. So we are going to clone it. If you want to keep the original, and if it's in the starter decks, you have to do this. You can clone it, and today we are going to be upgrading this with commons and uncommons only. This is a budget build, so be aware of that. There will be plenty. I have to change these because it's weird. Don't worry about it. We're here. So, what was I saying? Rares. We're not going to be adding them. So this is a budget, new player-friendly build. We're only going to be using commons and uncommons. You should have those. And, you know, there will be plenty of room for improvement later. But we can still make this so unbelievably so much better with just commons and uncommons. So what is this deck? It likes to kill its own things. This thing likes to die. This wants to sacrifice stuff. This likes to die. This likes to sacrifice stuff. This likes to die. This likes when things die. This likes when other things die. This likes when other things die. This thing likes to die. It gets bigger when it dies, right? That's the idea. We have stuff that likes to die. We have stuff that likes to sacrifice and eat things. And we sacrifice our own things and make things bigger. That's the idea. Naturally, there's lots of terrible cards. Like, why is this in the deck? Why is this in the deck? I don't know. This is pretty bad. So, let's fix that. Let's fix this thing and just optimize it with just commons and uncommons. We'll start by taking out Reassembling Skeleton. I'm going to move these here so I have some space over here. We're going to take this out for this. It's already in the deck. So here's the idea, right? 2 mana, 1/1. You can pay 2 to return it to the battlefield. So the idea is you can just sacrifice it over and over, which is cool, but it's so slow. 2 mana for 1/1, and then you have to pay 2 for it every single time. It's a lot of mana investment, and against like an aggro deck, you're just going to die. It's too slow. So this, on the other hand, 1 mana, 1/1, when it dies, just makes another 1/1. It can be sacrificed twice. Technically, you know, it can only be sacrificed twice. It could be sacrificed 10 times, 15 times, who knows? But realistically, we're going to have lots of things that can be sacrificed multiple times, or just lots of things that like to be sacrificed. And I just don't think this is necessary. It's so slow. So we'll take 2 of these out. We'll go up to 4 of these. It's one of the best cards for this type of deck. Almost. Because the other thing that's really good for this type of deck is Greedy Freebooter. We're gonna add 2 of these, take out Wary Thespian, which isn't terrible. This is a 1 mana 1/1. When it dies, we get to scry and we make a treasure, so it ramps us. This is actually pretty big. We are going to be drawing a ton of cards with this deck, and the treasure is actually very relevant, but also it just comes down a turn sooner. This is cool, right? 2 mana, 3/1, enter surveils, die surveils. The problem is, with the 3 power, I don't usually want to sacrifice it. It's 3 power, right? I don't want to sacrifice the 3 power thing. And also, it doesn't curve well. We have lots of things that like to sacrifice early, like this, for example. We're also going to have another 1-drop that likes to sacrifice this as well. And so, like, realistically, we're not going to sacrifice this until the late game. So, I just find it to be a little bit clunky. I do like the Surveil. I don't think it's that bad. I picked this thing a lot in Draft. In Draft, I love this thing. Very cool. But I think we can take 2 of them out, add 2 of these Greedy Freebooters, and we're going to add 2 more. So, let's just bring this back. We're going to take out Thorn Wailed, whatever this is. We're going to take this out for 2 more of these. I don't know why this is in the deck. 2 mana, 2/1, reach, deck touch. I mean, it's a perfectly reasonable, okay card. I just don't want it. I don't want it, and I want more things to sacrifice. Take 2 of these out, put 2 of these in. This gives us 8 1-drops that want to die. These things want to die. They want to be sacrificed. You can sacrifice it to this. You can sacrifice it to this. You can sacrifice it to this thing, right? And you get value for doing so, which is nice. Next, this card. Why is it in the deck? We're going to replace it with a 3-drop, but we're going to also replace some 4 and 5-drops for lower. It'll be fine. But we're going to add Voracious Vermin. How many Voracious cards are there? There's 2. I only want 1. But so this card is This is a sleeper card. I think people just don't know how good this card is. It's a 3 mana, 2/1. When it enters, we make a 1/1. You know what that 1/1 is? It's a thing that we just want to die. It can be sacrificed to anything. We kill it, we don't care. Whenever another creature we control dies, put a counter. Now, the reason this is so good, the reason we love this effect, is because it does two things in one, right? This deck, there's 3 categories of cards in this deck. There's things that want to die, there's things that want to sacrifice things, and then there's payoffs for sacrificing things, right? Those are our 3 categories of cards. And the reason this is so good is it fits in 2 of them. It is a thing that provides something to be sacrificed, and it's a payoff for sacrificing. We love cards that bridge the gaps, because one problem with this type of deck is maybe you draw all your sacrifice guys, but no way to sacrifice them. Maybe you draw all your want to kill things guys, but you have nothing to sacrifice. Maybe you fill your board with a bunch of morbid payoffs, but like you have no way to sacrifice anything, right? And so cards that can bridge the gap and do 2 things at once, awesome. So we're going to take this guy out. We're going to add 1 of these, and we're playing 4 of these because this card is amazing. We're going to take out 2 of these needle tooth packs. So both of these are payoffs for sacrificing. This, at the beginning of our end step, if a creature died, we put 2 counters on something. That is awesome, but it's only going to trigger once. So it's like 2 counters per turn, and that's it. On a 5 mana 4/5. This comes down earlier, it provides something to sacrifice, and then it's going to get a +1/+1 counter every single time something dies. If 3 things die, it gets 3 counters. This thing will regularly get huge, and it's very unassuming. People don't think it's that powerful at first. You play it down, they say whatever, and then it gets like 4 or 5 counters, and it becomes scary. This is fine, but it's just so clunky at 5 mana. So I want to take 2 of these out, add 2 of these in. Just massively improves our mana curve. And finally, I want to take 1 of these out. These are basically the same thing. Morbid, at the end of turn, if a creature died, we put a counter on it. It's a 4 mana 4/3. This is a 2/1 for 3. So comparable, this is smaller, lower on the curve. This is bigger, higher on the curve, whatever. But this only gets 1 counter per turn. This can get as many counters as things that die, in addition to providing us a sacrifice outlet. So we're taking out 1 of these for 1 of these. Not a sacrifice outlet, a thing to be sacrificed. That's what it provides. But we'll take that out, or we'll put 4 of those in. We go down to 1 of these. That is totally fine. Next, Undying Malice. This is a fun card. It is a very, very powerful card in Modern. It is played in some degenerate, broken. It's probably played in Timeless and stuff as well. But it just doesn't do much. It's 1 mana, you target a creature, and when it dies, it comes back with a counter. Like, it's fine. This is used in scam decks in Modern and stuff, or like reanimator decks, stuff like that. It just doesn't really do what we want to do. What I do want to do is play Corrupted Conviction. So this card, 1 mana, sacrifice a creature, draw 2. Very simple. We love to sacrifice these guys and draw 2. We love to sacrifice a 1/1 rat and draw 2 and get a counter, right? That's the whole idea. We want to sacrifice stuff. Draw 2 is great. This, it's cool. Needs some setup, but I don't really love it. So at least I do love it, just not in this deck. So take 2 of these out. Corrupted Conviction, very good. Next, I would say we have some optimizations that are somewhat optional. I want to take these Tragic Banshees out. I find them to be way too clunky, and I want Skyfish, yeah, okay, I knew that was it. This is another sleeper card. People used to be aware of this, and then, I don't know, people forgot. 4 mana, 3/3, reach, very mid. When it enters, we can sacrifice another creature, and if we do, we get to destroy, notably, a non-land permanent. It can destroy creatures, it can destroy enchantments, artifacts, planeswalkers, anything. 4 mana, we sacrifice 1 of these guys, don't even care, the sacrifice completely irrelevant, and then when it dies, also reach by the way, so it can block flyers. When it dies, we're going to gain 1 life for each creature card in our graveyard. It's going to count itself. We don't care about our graveyard, even though we're a sacrifice deck. We're not doing anything with our graveyard. So this dying and gaining, like 4 or 5 life, also great. And then this 5 mana, 5/3, also pretty mid bodies, both of these. But when it enters, it's either going to give a creature -1/-1, which is terrible, or if we're morbid, so if something died, -13/-13. It's a big number, but ultimately it just means kill a creature, right? That's all it really does. -13/-13 is fun, right? This is a Innistrad card. 13, spooky number. That's the whole idea. But realistically, it just kills something. This also kills something, but it can kill more things because it can hit enchantments and artifacts, and it's just like an awesome card. It's 1 mana cheaper. It's a sacrifice outlet. This is a payoff, but we need more ways to actually sacrifice stuff. So this does it, and it's just better. So I want 2 of these in. I want 2 of these out. And finally, again, optional optimization, but you probably can guess what. Go for the... That's probably good enough. That wasn't good enough. Well, whatever. Yeah, so Moment of Craving is very good. It's a good sideboard card against red aggro because it kills an early game creature. It gains life. Also disrupts those cards that care about their power when they die because they deal damage. This is like a awesome 10 out of 10 tech piece against those decks that you put in your sideboard. But -2/-2 is not good enough. What happens if the opponent has a Shieldred, for example? This can't kill it. So... this kills basically everything in standard. Doesn't destroy artifacts, so like there's occasionally an artifact you can't target, but rarely. So yeah, we're just gonna take 2 of these out, add 2 of these in because it's better. And that's our deck right now. That's the finished deck. We need to talk about rares. So the weakest cards in this deck right now are probably, I would say, the Wardens. This is powerful. It just doesn't fit with our deck. Arbiter, the Prowler's pretty bad, and the powerful cards you want to be thinking about, I mean, this is the #1 thing, High Society Hunter. So remember earlier when I said this card was so powerful because it does multiple things at once. It provides a sacrifice target and it's a payoff for sacrificing. This is the same thing. When it attacks, you can sacrifice. If you do, it gets bigger. And then, whenever a non-token creature dies, so whenever you sacrifice, you draw a card. It enables sacrifice. It's a payoff for sacrifice. Note that even if this isn't the thing that does the sacrificing, if anything gets sacrificed or if anything dies, you draw. And that's per thing that dies. If you have a big combat step where like 4 creatures die, you draw 4 cards. And no, it doesn't say whenever another creature you control dies. Anything on the battlefield dying draws you a card. This thing will draw a million cards. It is crazy. It's so much better than that. Like, just compare it to, what was that card I took out? It was a Banshee, right? Do we want a 5 mana 5/3 that kills 1 creature, or do we want a 5 mana 5/3 with flying that gets bigger, sacrifices things, and draws a million cards, right? That's the idea. So yeah, we want to be taking stuff like this out. We want to be adding more of these, and that's basically it. I also want to show you, because I have a non-budget build myself of the same archetype. Will I be able to find it? Here it is. So this is a deck that I just have. You'll notice that it has these 2 cards still. This card is incredible and it's in your deck. We have this thing, which is very good. But the rares I'm playing are also much more removal. But the rares I'm playing are Vran, which drains whenever something is sacrificed. Mosswood Dread Knight, just because it's a great mid-range card. I have Lord Skitter. This is a replacement for the common that we added to your deck. But the reason this is so good in this specific build is because it makes a 1/1 every turn, which works really well with Vran. And then, of course, we have this, which just draws tons of cards. And we have a Liliana for fun. Also, another card you might want to check your collection for is Fountain Port, which can sacrifice tokens to draw cards. I mean, a land that can sacrifice, you know, like the tokens from these guys, or the rat tokens to draw and trigger stuff like this, right? In my case, it triggers Vran. It's very good. But yeah, those are some of your options that you can think about. There's lots of stuff you could add. Braid's also another fun one. During your end step, you can sacrifice anything, and the opponent also has to sacrifice that thing. And if they can't, you draw cards. Awesome. Oh yeah, Desecration Demon. This is also probably worth taking out. Rottenmouth Viper also has potential. This is pretty good. I like Bristlebud Farmer a lot. Very playable in this type of deck. So yeah, lots of stuff you can do. But for now, I think this deck is so much better. I've actually, like I showed you, I have a non-budget version of this deck because I had so much fun building it when I was working on this. I was playing it and I was like, man, I just gotta build a non-budget version of this. And yeah, it's pretty solid. Again, plenty of room for improvement because we only added commons and uncommons. So, of course, still suboptimal. It's still a starter deck with not a lot of rares, but it should be much more consistent and do much more powerful things. So hopefully that's helpful. If this was useful, I'm going to be upgrading all 10 of these decks. So There's plenty more to come. Subscribe for more. And in the meantime, thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you in the next one.